What about the name? It's quite an unusual name from the Graaf. In former times it was called from the Graaf Generator.
No, it was, that was Chris's name, in fact. He was one of these people, rather like myself actually, a great list maker, and he had a list, I think, of about 30 or 40 different names for groups, and Van der Graaf Generator was one of them. He didn't know what it was. I knew what it was because I'd done science at school, and I knew it was a nice-looking machine. It had the sparks element about it, you know, a little bit of electricity, a little bit Victorian. And the name as well, of course, had a nice rhythm to it, sort of da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's sort of like Morse code. And nice angles as well, the V and the G. Of course, after a certain amount of time, we stopped calling it Van der Graaf Generator all the time because it's such a long thing to say, and we found that not only we, but everybody else called it Van der Graaf. And so at the point at which David and Hugh left, we decided, well, we might as well call it Van der Graaf now, without any particularly heavy implications there, but just that's what we called it those days.
The group hasn't only got an interesting name, it also has got so-called interesting history. I mean, there's not just a couple of it's not just a couple of musicians being together for a long time, but there's always something happening.
Yeah, breaking up.
You split in '72.
Well, we split very first time we split actually was '69. We split for about 6 months in '69
because the equipment was stolen.
And we didn't have any money and we didn't have any gigs. Well, the usual problems.
But '72 was a split where everybody already knew something about the group, and it was well known and so-called successful.
Yeah. Success, apparent success, often doesn't mean financial success, not even financially breaking even. That wasn't really the point of that breakup. It was just, it was wrong. Would have been wrong for us to carry on then, which is, and the reason for that is one of the keys why it's a different sort of band, that everybody who's been in it has always had a strong feeling for the spirit of Van der Graaf, which isn't, it's never actually stated, you know, the spirit of Van der Graaf is this, these are the terms of the constitution of Van der Graaf, but there should be some kind of spirit there, which is outside whoever is in the band. And it's been interesting, especially over the last year, with changes of instrumentation and of people, that spirit has carried on, in spite of going from organ and sax to violin and cello, return of Nick playing bass. Still the spirit of the band, wanting still to play songs, real songs, wanting to play complicated music to a certain extent, fairly dense arrangements, fairly difficult pieces of music, not to be difficult, but just because that's a challenge. To do all of that, and then also to play with a degree of chaos or anarchy or fire and spirit.
When I've been to a concert at the Marquee Club 2 years ago, one guy at the audience shouted to the stage, well, play some rock and roll. And you said then, well, if you haven't realized that rock and roll's changed, then you're in the wrong place or something like that.
Yeah. So I sort of remember that, and that I think I said that this is rock and roll, which it is. I mean, I do think the band does play rock and roll. It's not 12 bar, it's not straight ahead beats, but it's still rock and roll. I mean, you can't call it anything else. You can't call it jazz. You can't call it, I mean, really, you shouldn't call it anything. It's just music, and you know, often, of course, people who haven't come across the band particularly say, well, what sort of music do you play? And to be really honest, the only answer you can give is it's Van der Graaf music. I mean, you just have to listen to it and see what it is. But if there is going to be a great division, then I would say that it is rock and roll. A rather strange kind, perhaps, but it is, as I said then, it would be 76 or 77. Now it's 78. Obviously, rock and roll has to be something different from Bill Haley. The world's changed too. So any sort of music, any sort of art, as a mirror of the way that the world is, has to change with it.